Hello everyone, and welcome back to Farfarawaytheories, the channel that theorizes and discusses everything Shrek. Today, I'm going to be talking about if Princess Fiona is half frog. Before I begin talking about the theory, I just wanted to say, if you enjoy this video by the end, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe and hit the bell also, because it really helps the channel get out there to new people. Without further ado, let's get into this. So at first glance, you may think it's obvious that Fiona is half frog, because Harold, Princess Fiona's father, originally was half frog, and he's actually based off the Frog Prince fairy tale, where a princess kisses a frog and he becomes a handsome prince. However, as we all know, Harold made a deal with the fairy godmother. It was a magical deal that transformed Harold into a human. So the fairy tale isn't exactly the same, however the concept is very similar. Lillian and Harold fell in love pretty quickly, it seems, and Harold was desperate to be able to live his life with Lillian so they could properly spend their lives together more comfortably and without the awkwardness of him being a frog. So Harold made the deal with the fairy godmother, which she exploits later on in Shrek 2, where she threatens Harold and basically says that if you don't give Fiona the love potion in her tea, I'll revert my deal and make you a frog again.
Oh yes you will. If you remember, I helped you with your happily ever after, and I can take it away just as easily. Is that what you want? Is it?
So what does this all mean? Well, essentially, from what I can tell, when a potion or spell is placed on someone by the fairy godmother, it changes the majority of the person's DNA. However, I actually don't think it gets rid of all their original DNA. You'll find out why I think this in a moment. However, basically, the way I think it works is that the vast majority of the person becomes human, but a little bit of their original race kind of stays within them. So, when Harold and Lillian had Princess Fiona, I believe that Princess Fiona gained some of her father's frog DNA. This may sound a little ridiculous, as Fiona doesn't look like a frog. However, a lot of Fiona's attributes can kind of point towards this. In addition, considering Harold's transformation could be reversed, and rather easily, as the fairy godmother casually threatens him about it, it seems quite easy to reverse, which kind of implies that a little bit of his original form is within him. Not to mention, Harold sacrifices himself to save Shrek and Fiona at the end of Shrek 2, and reverts back into a frog. It seems that the fairy godmother was trying to vaporise Shrek and Fiona into bubbles. However, because Harold was affected by the fairy godmother's magic, he was affected differently. Instead of vanishing into bubbles, it reversed whatever magic was keeping him a human, which means that even though the fairy godmother wasn't trying to transform Harold back into a frog, that Harold's frog DNA must have naturally came to the surface after being hit by such a powerful magical blast, so his original DNA reacted and made him a frog again to protect his life and to stop him from being turned into bubbles. So basically, I think Harold's DNA reacted to the threat, and the only way to save Harold's life was to change his form back into a frog, because his human form was hit by such a powerful blast, he would have been turned into bubbles otherwise. So Harold definitely retained some of his frog DNA, which means that when Harold and Lillian had Fiona, some of his original DNA was transferred to her. From what I can realistically calculate, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of Fiona's DNA would be human. However, the witch that cast a spell on Fiona also made her part ogre. However, the witch that cast a spell on Fiona and made her part ogre must have rewrote quite a bit of her DNA, because in her true love's form, she takes her ogre form. So I'm guessing that about 45% of her DNA is ogre, about 45% of her DNA is human, and I think the last 10% of her DNA is frog. Due to True Love's true form, she retains her ogre form in the end. However, she still keeps traces of her other DNA, because in Shrek 2, when Shrek drinks the love potion to try and make him a human to be more presentable to Fiona and Harold, Fiona also transforms back into a human, which means, like Harold, her human DNA is still inside her, but mostly laying dormant for her physical form. So what froggy attributes did Fiona get from her father? Well, to start, obviously Fiona being part ogre makes her stronger. However, she's incredibly agile for a human and for an ogre, so I think some of Harold's DNA made her a lot faster than the average person, because if you've ever seen a frog, they can sometimes be really fast in the water and also jump incredible heights and distances in a short amount of time. Not to mention, Harold reacted really quickly to save Shrek and Fiona from the fairy godmother, where Shrek tried to protect Fiona instead of jumping and pushing her out the way himself. That also explains her incredibly acrobatic fighting style, and something that kind of makes this even more convincing to me is that Fiona absolutely loves the foods that Shrek loves. Although this could be attributed to being part ogre, she also likes these foods in her human form, so that some of the outlandish things that she likes to eat with Shrek before she transformed back into an ogre, and some of the things she had to eat while locked in the Dragon's Keep, I think it makes a lot more sense, because frogs like to eat flies and other insects and some gross things. However, it's perfectly natural for them, and because of that, because Fiona's part frog, I think she also likes these kind of things too. She's not a fussy eater, that's for sure. So to conclude, I don't think Fiona's half frog, due to magic, and obviously her curse. I think Fiona is about 10% frog. So to conclude, I don't think Fiona is half frog. I think she's around 10% frog, due to obviously her curse and magical intervention for both Harold and herself. And that's going to wrap up today's theory. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I also apologise if my voice sounds a little weird today, because my throat's a little sore. However, I thought recording this theory for you guys was more important. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, because it really helps our Farfaraway theories swamp grow. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss any Shrek related content. My channel's becoming more diverse as I make different kinds of videos in my many different playlists. Make sure to check out any of my other playlists. I want to thank you so much for getting to the end of this video, but more importantly, I hope you stay safe and have a Shrek-tastic day.
Bye bye. See you later.